Hi there again. We're making good headway. We're about in the middle of the theoretical content. Um, with respect to the previous class, I added this short document. It's really just 2 pages and then a few references, which I wrote a couple of weeks ago for a society, the Simulation Society, and it gives um, a perspective on system theory, in some instances a bit narrower than the class, in some instances a bit broader, but it's a very compact text on system theory. I've also added 2 chapters from my 2011 book. Please do not send those around the world because then you would be stealing from the publisher and from me, but feel free to use them for your personal use for the class. Um, those of you who took regulation and integration already have these chapters, I believe, and their background information for this. One of them is for this class, and both chapters for subsequent classes. As I said, we're about in the middle of the framework, and we're going to look at conceptual and mathematical models of a simple physical system before we tackle biological systems. And again, the good news for the regulation and integration students is that this is a pure reminder, but I didn't want to present that reminder. Some of you may have forgotten, and there may be a few new people. So we're going to look at a simple hydraulic system with a block diagram, and it goes from an inflow to a level. And that's our system. I made a drawing at the bottom where we can see the inflow of the tank, the height of a fluid, the volume, surface area, an outflow resistance, and an outflow. Now, so that's a somewhat formal conceptual model for what's inside that box. And now we're going to derive a mathematical model, and you will see that that's not all that complicated. So we first look at conservation of mass, or conservation of fluid volume in this particular case. And so you may remember that the change of volume here is inflow minus outflow. We can write that down as follows with a simple differential equation. The change of volume over time is inflow minus outflow. We can, well, the inflow is something we control from the outside, so it's an input variable. We cannot do anything about that. But the outflow is a function of the height of the liquid. And that's a bit of a strange definition of resistance, but it's quite intuitive. If the height of the liquid is 0, then there's no outflow, and the higher the liquid volume gets, the bigger the outflow over this resistance that we assume linear. Now, I would like to write this equation as in a function as a function of volume. So I have a volume height relationship here, and I can use that to actually derive the derivative of the first equation there at the top. So if I take the derivative of volume, I'm getting s times the derivative of height. And that gives me the choice to either write everything in terms of volume or in terms of height. I believe in this case, because height is our output variable, we'll use that variable. So if I substitute these results in the equation on top, and the result for the outflow and the result for the derivative, I get this equation, s times the derivative of h is equal to the inflow minus the height divided by the resistance. There's another way to write this, and we will be using both. So on the second equation, we put all the heights on one side and the inflow on the other side. That's an ordinary differential equation. The equation on the left is a first order state equation. And so for analysis, we would be using the derivative, the differential equation, but for modeling and simulation, or for simulation, we would be using the equation on the left. there. So that wasn't all that complicated. In summary, we have a system with an inflow and an outflow, and I have to be careful here because our independent variables, inflow, dependent variables, level, could be outflow as well, but in this case it's level. So that's a requirement, and we presented and briefly discussed a conceptual model, and then we derived a mathematical model. Yeah, so those are the first three steps of the modeling and simulation procedure. And now we can either analyze this equation or implement it in code and do a simulation. So this was a first order hydraulic system, and we'll use hydraulic systems to represent the cardiovascular system later on. I would like for you to read section 4.1 from chapter 4 of my book, and the section is called a model of two systems, and you'll get to look at two a little bit higher order, second order systems, one a mechanical engineering system and one an electrical engineering system, and with a quite surprising result there. So please look at those and email me if you have any questions on this section 4.1. So we wrapped up this this part of the framework, and we will be talking in the next lecture about conceptual modeling of the cardiorespiratory system. Talk to you in a bit.